The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised. Conspiracy theories run wild. The mainstream media does it again, and so much more is headed your way in this hour of the John Lebang Show. Greetings, Earthlings, welcome and salutations. I'm your host, John Lebang, welcoming you to another week of broadcasting right here on the John Lebang Show. Want to get right into it because there's so much information that is now being disseminated to us that it's hard to keep up with everything that's going on. Let's talk about the shooting that happened in Florida. That is still a main topic of discussion, not only in the mainstream media, but on the interwebs, the conspiracy theorists. Everybody is discussing this topic. They've got everyone focused on this specific incident. I'd like to bring up the fact that that town hall that they organized over there at CNN, where they were asking questions of Marco Rubio and others. One of the young men that was part of the discussion said that CNN scripted his questions for him. He had a small speech or a question about why not putting veterans in schools to protect the schools. Well, I guess they denied that. Or he claims they deny it because CNN, of course, is denying that what he is saying is true. And they've come up with some email that they said has been doctored to look like CNN asked him to, or scripted a question for him. Now, with CNN's track record, how do we as the mainstream public know that they didn't doctor the email that they are showing us? You see, it's so easy to doctor things these days. We've got the big conspiracy theorist lady out there. I'm not sure if many of you are familiar with her, but during the Sandy Hook thing, and then we had the Boston bombing, we had conspiracy theorists from all over the place matching up this lady that was at the Boston bombing, who was crying, or was at a visual at the Boston bombing crying, with another lady from the Sandy Hook shooting. And conspiracy theorists are saying that this lady is the same person. They've also linked her to another event. And now this is being addressed in the mainstream media. I have an article here from the USA Today saying conspiracy theories that won't end. And they're talking about this lady and how every time there's a shooting that she's brought up as because they think she was a crisis actor. The conspiracy theorists do. Now, this article produced by USA Today, and it's Crystal Hayes who wrote it, has an interview with the girl that everybody in the conspiracy world that believes that Sandy Hook and Boston had crisis actors, and they use her as the example for the crisis actor. Everybody involved with that. Here's USA Today having the girl on for an interview to discuss this and say, hey, enough's enough. We've got to stop these conspiracy theories. Well, here's the thing, folks. If it was a conspiracy theory, and I don't prescribe to this crisis actor, because it's much more probable if some group was behind these shootings, they wouldn't use fake actors. They wouldn't use crisis actors. They would use mind control on the subject. That way, when the subject is caught, which they are almost every time, this subject doesn't realize what they did, or they have no idea that they were under some spell, and it's a lot easier to hide that, especially if you have people in place that are arresting them, booking them, and all that, than it is to bring in crisis actors. Yet the alternative media has this far out wing that gets a lot of prominence in the mainstream media. They use them to discredit the rest of us alternative media types. Yet they don't represent the whole of the alternative media. A lot of people follow them because a lot of people just want to follow what they believe. They don't want the truth. They don't want to be subject to the opposite viewpoint, because they don't want to hear it. They have apathy for all that. They have despise for all that. They don't care about any other viewpoint. A good vast majority of people in the alternative media. I mean, this translates to the mainstream population as well. But the alternative media has the deep enders, the ones that go way off the deep end. And we've spoken about conspiracy theories on the broadcast many times. And I've pointed to the some things that have been conspiracy theories that have been proven true over time. But you're not going to get me to go off on the deep end like a great deal of these alternative media types. And whether or not this lady is a crisis actor, the fact that USA Today is addressing the issue and having her on, yet they, the interesting thing is the other two pictures in this collage that is on the internet with this lady that they say is a crisis actor, they didn't bring in the other two women so all three of them could be in there for an interview to discuss this. That was an interesting point that seems to be missed by the people commenting on the article from USA Today that you can get from the MSNBC main page. Probably not there anymore. I mean, this was a couple days old by the time we broadcast the show here. But it's interesting because if you're trying to discredit the notion that this lady is a crisis actor, you would find the other two women that are in those pictures, if they are indeed three women, three different people, you would find those other two being a mainstream outlet like USA Today, who has a pretty large budget comparatively to us people here in the alternative media, who report and usually don't get paid jack squat. We're just happy some people are listening to us. Maybe we're opening some minds a little bit to the notion that everything that is propagated to us, everything that is disseminated to us may not be either accurate or real. But because USA Today thinks they can bring in one woman, the woman who's the subject of the conspiracy theory, and let her say enough is enough, that it discredits the alternative media, the far alternative media's idea that she's a crisis actor, where are the other two women? I mean, if you're truly trying to get to the bottom of this or truly trying to get the truth out, you would bring in those other two women. So the three women can debunk the story together. But they only bring the lady in who's the subject of the conspiracy theory. We have more conspiracy theories as we're going to go on with the show. But I wanted to continue on because this is all based around the current hot topic, and that's the Florida shooting. Some recent developments that we have that I can't believe didn't come out right away, but hey, you know, this also is examples of what they're trying to push here. So apparently there was a cop that stayed outside the school during the massacre. He was a school resource deputy, which means he was trained in this stuff. He was appointed to the school to keep its students safe. But I have more news, because I just want you to put this in your brain, ladies and gentlemen. I just want you to let this stuff soak in for a minute. I haven't seen much of this headlined, if at all. Now, it's in the stories, and you have to get to the bottom of the stories to see this, which the mainstream media knows most of the readers won't do. They go 1, 2, maybe 3 paragraphs in, and that's it. But not only is there that cop who has since stepped down, has quit, resigned, but there are 2 other deputies that are also under investigation after a review of prior law enforcement calls on the accused gunman. So there you go. Exactly what I told you last week, ladies and gentlemen, that there was a connection there. They knew about this guy. The FBI did. Now we know law enforcement were aware of this guy. There were calls involving this guy. See, here's the whole thing. I'm going to boil it down real quick before we go to break, which we're running up against here. We know the FBI failed in this. Now we know law enforcement failed in this. Let's get past all the conspiracy theories, because there are some that have to be taken into consideration, and we're going to get there. But if at face value, how it's being reported to us in the mainstream public, we know the FBI failed, law enforcement failed, schools and school officials failed, the government failed. And what is the debate on, ladies and gentlemen? It's on guns. Do you get the picture? All the things, all the entities that are truly to blame here, if the story is taken at face value, as they are telling us, we have a failure of law enforcement, the FBI, school, the education system, obviously, and the government. And yet, they want to restrict or take away specific guns. We've got to take a quick time out, ladies and gentlemen. We're up against a break. More on this and other topics in the second, third, and fourth segments. Please stay tuned.
Now don't get your panties all worked up.
The John Lebang Show will be right back.
And you'll love it.
CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's what's cool on radio.
You see, I don't even care what side of the debate you're on. If you're on the gun control side or if you're on the right to bear arms side. The gun is the least of the issues here. Yet that is the only thing that they want you to pay attention to. First off, we've let the crazies out of the closet and now we can't control them. Whose fault is that? We now have another questionable story in some supposed random shooting event. Now they've come up with a couple fall guys, law enforcement officers that are either under investigation for not doing their job or just sat there while the event was happening. Nobody's getting fired at the FBI. What school officials are getting fired? Probably no one. We'll find out. The government, you know how they're going to react. We have clear failures here. If the story is what they say it is, just by their story, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you and I'm showing you who's at fault here. Whether this crazy gunman was just a random crazy gunman or they knew about him and did nothing about it, it's all right there for us to see. Guns is the least of our concerns in this event. You know, and everybody out there has a speech on this bloody topic. Yet no one can see past their political bigotry to realize the larger picture. And that's you're being manipulated. Why isn't the mainstream media coming down hard on the FBI, the law enforcement? No, they're coming down hard on the guns. And through all this, look at the organization on both sides of the gun debate. They were ready to go when this event, right after this event took place. The gun control lobby had their protests and the news media went right along with it. It was all systematic. It all was the same old sequence, just like the blueprints of years gone past. It all was choreographed to look genuine, to fill the machinations of the people who want gun control. And they're doing it in concert with the media, while exploiting children, because now they're having the children go out there. And then we have the pro-gun lobby, pro-gun side. And their response was systematic. And the sequence was just like it always is. It followed a blueprint. It was choreographed. And it fulfilled the machinations of the ones who are on the pro-gun side. And all that was in concert with the media. And again, they're all exploiting children. Children are getting interviews. Children are doing speeches. Mark my words, ladies and gentlemen. Mark my words. you're going to get some measure of gun control you wouldn't have been able to get under Obama. But because the Republicans are in office, their base is going to allow it to happen. They weren't going to allow it to happen during Obama, but they're going to allow some measure of gun control. And will the FBI face any repercussions? Are law enforcement agencies going to face any repercussions? Is the school district going to face repercussions? They're tearing down that building, by the way. Going to build another one. That's going to cost us money, or at least the Florida taxpayers. Maybe it'll come out of federal funds. We're always funding everything. All this goes in line with a post. I mean, it is so interesting how I'm a few days ahead of everything, if not weeks ahead of everything. It was just a few days ago where I pulled the Q bit, I guess you would call it. Since Q can ask a bunch of questions and a whole bunch of people are following that person, yet it's leading them here and there and everywhere and nowhere to the real issue. I thought I'd ask questions that might lead people to the real issue. And what did I get? Nah. You know, sometimes I do things and I fail. I get it wrong. I thought by mimicking Q, because Q was so popular, so many people followed Q, that if I mimicked Q's way of doing things, that I could get people to wake up a little bit. My mistake, my bad. All I got was the gun debate issue. And if I read you what I posted, you'll realize it had nothing to do with the gun debate issue. My first question was, what is the Hegelian dialectic? In short, that's problem, reaction, solution. If you want to have some kind of thing happen, you cause a problem. Let's say have a random shooter go to a school, which causes a reaction. The public gets outraged and demands something, in this case, gun control. And then you're going to be offered a solution. And since the Republicans are the ones in office right now, it's going to be easier to do. Another question I asked, what is MK Ultra? Well, of course, nobody even bothered to look that one up, I'm sure. They didn't look up the Hegelian dialectic either. That was too much work. But MK Ultra is a mind control experiment. Now, why is that important, ladies and gentlemen? That was my third question. Why is that important? Well, that means they were finding out ways to control people's minds. For what purpose? My next question was, why would mind control experiments be conducted if they never planned on using the knowledge? Can you answer that question, ladies and gentlemen? Most people can't. In fact, they overlooked that question. My next question was, why does the FBI always have some prior knowledge of these mass shooters and bombers before their rampages? And finally, why is attempted gun control always the end result? I led people down a path, and if they would have answered each question, they could have answered that last one. But they didn't want to answer any of the questions. We had one person go off on some political rile for gun control. Another person came on to dispute that, and nobody answered the question or wanted to answer the question. Because either they didn't want to find out what I was asking, because it might challenge what they believe, Because currently the mainstream media has decided gun control is the main issue, and the political advocate groups for gun control stepped right up. They were ready to go. Look at how organized not only the rallies were, but they had, a town hall right away. We can't organize a presidential debate that fast, but we sure as heck can organize rallies that fast. Okay. Then we had the anti-gun control people out there, the pro-gun people, at the same time, all systematically doing the same thing. Reaction. See, the problem was we had some guy go shoot up a school. He had mental issues. He was a loner, pretty much, from what we can tell. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw it coming. Exactly. The people that he was living with, his parents are gone. No parents. No real fatherly and motherly guidance. Some people took him in. They didn't see it coming. Some other people didn't see it coming. Other people saw it coming. Shoot, we heard that there were multiple shooters again. Do we even know what really happened? And do you really want to believe the FBI, the law enforcement agencies, the government, or, for that matter, the educational system, who are all doing whatever they can to cover their butts by all joining together and pointing to gun control? Now, you may not like guns, and you may think we need less guns. That's fine. You're perfectly allowed to have that position. But the current situation, if you're focused on guns, then you don't know that you shouldn't even be in the argument, because we have bigger problems than the guns. We have a corrupt FBI, obviously a corrupt or inept law enforcement agency or agencies who are, by the way, who are all part of a fraternity, so they all have their back. When you're part of a fraternity, you make an oath to that fraternity. And for the most part, that oath supersedes any loyalty to any country, any state, city. That's why you don't see me joining in with all these people that are either becoming Freemasons or that or the other thing. I've been offered to become a Freemason. You won't get me to do it. My loyalties lie with John Lebang, my family, the Constitution, and the country, my state, where I live, my neighbors. Not towards any organized religion, political muscle group, anything. Anyways, folks, we've got to take a quick time out. On the other side of this, we're going to discuss some more stuff in the news. Please stay tuned.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Listening there. Don't go anywhere. John Lebang Show is going to be right back. Just ask the hillbilly.
That's right. Right after this.
What about me? Maybe next time.
Powerful. Epic music by Toothbox Roll. Life-changing lyrics come in every style, empowering humanity to finally unlock the chains of bondage. Experience the edgy side of positive music and rock your world today. From Primal to Divine, available now at sassyalternativemusic.com.
If you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now. VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Healthcare, there when you need them. That's 248-579-3805.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
Forces of darkness, the treasonable maggots who collaborate, must, can, and will be wiped from the face of the earth.
I wonder if you all remember during the recent State of the Union address, Mr. Trump, who I'm going to be dubbing Mr. Speech pretty soon, or Twitter Speech, uncertain. We're trying to come up with a nickname instead of the Donald. That's just not original. But Mr. Twitter Speech over there, at the State of the Union, he proclaimed that in February we were going to start seeing the effects of the recent tax reform. Well, I eagerly awaited February to show up, and my check from my employer, I looked at the first one, because we've had two in February now. I looked at the first one, and I was like, doesn't look like I got anything. Okay. But he did say February. He didn't say beginning the first week of February. He just said beginning in February. So I said, okay, let me see the next check. We'll wait. Because I also talked to a few friends there and said, do you see more money in your check? And that first check, nobody saw more money. Well, this check, I saw a few bucks more. I'd worked a couple extra hours, so I had to do some calculations. But I figured out, through all of my hard work, that wonderful tax reform benefited me by $11. For 2 weeks, mind you. $11 less the federal government is taking out of my bi-weekly paycheck. So at that rate, I'd probably be lucky to see what? Couple $100? Ooh, yeah, awesome. So I actually had figured out that I'd probably see about $600. I was wrong on that. Guess this is a night of banger discussing where he was wrong in things. I was overly optimistic at $600, $650 a month. It looks like it's, or a year, sorry, looks like it's going to be more like $250. Great job, Republicans. Great job, Mr. Trump. And this is heralded as a success. And you hear all my Republican friends and colleagues out there who just love Mr. Trump and the Republicans claiming, oh, this is great, this is great. How much did you get in your check? You know, how much money did you actually get to keep in your check? I'm wondering. You can look at it. You do not have to tell any of us. I just want you to look at the check and start figuring out if you are going to see a whole bunch of money this year. Because I don't think we're going to see that. That's right. Because like I told you, the average individual was lucky to get a 1 or 2% reduction in their tax rate. Corporations got 14%. If you're married and have kids, the percentage varies depending on how many kids you have. If you have 12 kids, you got a heck of a child tax credit. That, I don't know, maybe you're paying no taxes because of that in the long run. You're getting paid to have kids or something. Guess it depends on how many children you have, and you won't even see that till next year anyways. So this big tax reform that was hailed as a giant success for the Trump administration and the Republicans already seems to be a big old flop for the individual. The John Doe and the Jane Doe out there who work so hard. They don't have kids, though, so they aren't deserving of a refund or less taxes taken out. So we have that. That's interesting. You know, and then we have a few friends out there who will say, well, you got the Obamacare mandate repealed. And I was all for that. That was the one bonus I saw in the whole thing. That could equal out to $1,000 more in my favor. Sure. But the problem with that is that all the Republicans and Trump did was remove it from the bill, the tax bill. And I know the short-sightedness of a lot of the Republican base is going to miss this. But if they could just write it out of the tax bill, on the next bill that comes along, they can just write it back in. You get a Democrat, or you get a Democrat-run House and Senate, which that's the normal ebb and flow of the American political structure. We go extremes. All Democrat, like it was when President Obama got elected. Then it flows back, and now it's all Republicans running it, or the majority. And then we're beginning to see the signs of it flowing back the other way. It's two-card Monty. And you're not going to hear Sean Hannity, you know, the talking heads, the supposed credible people on talk radio and television. You're not going to hear him talk about that Obamacare mandate can be written right back in because they didn't get rid of Obamacare. All they did is exclude the mandate from the current tax bill. But that can be easily changed because Obamacare is still there. So all the Democrats have to do is win enough seats, then, which is inevitable because of how the American people flip-flop on their electing of officials. You get your hardcores, but then you get the center that don't understand. They don't have to vote Republican or Democrat. There are plenty of others out there that are always running, but they ignore them. That's why we're caught in this two-card Monty. That's why we're stuck with two political parties with one overall political agenda. And that's to make the laws and run the country their way. Now, their way may vary between political parties a little bit, but the overall arching goal of both parties, or any political party for that matter, is to gain control of that country. Its pocketbook, its military, and then to execute its agenda once they are in control of those things. But you won't hear Sean Hannity, one of the big talking heads, one of the big radio guys. He is so, credible, Sean Hannity. You don't hear him talking about it. Rush Limbaugh, you don't hear him talking about it. We might get lucky and have Michael Savage talk about it. But I had a little disagreement with Mr. Michael Savage recently. Because he has his own political ideas, and they don't always mesh with mine. But I can at least, even if I disagree with Michael Savage on something, I can still listen to the dude. Because he has good things to say too. Just because you don't like everything somebody has to say. He's the one exception though on that one. I can listen to Rush Limbaugh. I can't listen to Sean Hannity. His voice just is annoying. And he is the biggest cheerleader. At least, Rush even at times will part from the Republican Party. Sean Hannity, he's got his head so far up Trump's butt. He probably, I don't want to say it. We're on radio. But it stinks to high heaven, whatever it does. Even, you get a little bit maybe out of Glenn Beck, but he's in this up and down cycle because he went crazy for a little while. He went Alex Jones. I don't know if we all do that, because there are certain issues that drive us so hard that affect our very being that we want to defend it or to fight against it. But we're supposed to be objective here on the radio. This left-right paradigm is what is causing the split in the country. There shouldn't be talk of liberal and conservative, Republican, Democrat. Why do you want to make yourself so small like that? They say, joining this party or that makes your voice bigger. No, it doesn't. We've spoken of that before. Your voice is a lot stronger when you're one of one than if you're one of a million, one of 100. It makes their voice stronger, not your voice. So when people jump on the Republican bandwagon and don't say anything when the Republican guy or the Republican Party does the same exact things as the Democrat Party did, and these people who aren't saying anything about the Republican Party complained about the Democrat Party, or vice versa, you get the Democrats who let Barack Obama get away with murder while he was in office. Now they're all up in arms about Donald Trump. All the Russian activity that supposedly took place that affected whatever on social media and whatever they claim affected during the election, that was under Obama's watch. But you don't ever hear these Democrats who are talking about investigate Trump till the cows come home ever put Obama on trial. They don't look at Obama as he did anything wrong, even though all this supposed election hacking, fraud, whatever it might have been, was happening under Barry Soetoro, Barack Hussein Obama. But we're going to watch. We're going to see some kind of gun control. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know how restrictive it will be, what kind of regulations are coming. But they've got to take baby steps to get the guns out of the hands of the American people. If they go too hard, it won't fly. But since the Republicans are in office right now, since they're in control of the federal bureaucracy, and they have a president that's part of their party, they'll be able to pass something that Obama and the Democrats could have never passed because the opposition from the Republican Party would have been there. And the Democrats will not be in opposition of what is coming from the Republican Party because the overall agenda is there for the Democrats.
Where do you think you're going?
The John Lebang Show will be right back.
So grab a beer and a smoke and sit your butt back down.
Stay right here. Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning for a beautiful sparkling shine that's crystal clear. Call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Banger. Now now here's John.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Just a couple other things that I want to touch on before we get on out of here. A doctor was found dead with a knife in his chest inside his Manhattan apartment while he was home with his daughter. Apparently, she found him. This prominent doctor, he was the one that he exposed the non-existence of the Clinton Foundation's promised health care to Haiti. And he was found dead with a knife in his chest. And they're claiming suicide. Now, seems to be a lot of suicide going around when it comes to prominent people exposing things. But in this case, you have a doctor who could have prescribed any medicine he wanted. He could have got his hands on anything because he could write scripts. And he chooses to stab himself in the chest. That's a question mark I have. It's just like, okay, I'm a doctor. And I could, if I had to commit suicide for whatever reason, why would I stab myself in the chest? And because of the stabbing, shouldn't we ban all knives? Shouldn't we have a knife banning situation to stop suicide? Just thought I'd bring that up, let you think about it. A lot of deaths happen to the people who oppose the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation. Ex-friends of the Clintons. Finally, I wanted to get into, this is a little more on a different level. This happens to take place on YouTube. We brought up the conspiracy theorists out there, and then we brought up the alternative media. Well, there's a gentleman, Mr. Cati, who's feeling the pinch of the censorship on YouTube. His numbers have reduced, but he put out a really good video recently talking about some of the things I've spoken about here tonight and in prior broadcasts about the people on the mainstream media or the alternative media who are just repeaters of the mainstream media. The ones that you go there and all they do is grab the article and read it to you and act like they're reporting something. Unlike here on the John Lebang Show, we may read you something, but we're going to point out the flaws in the reporting of whoever's reporting the story we're reading. We may use facts given to us through stories, although we usually check the source versus the report. So Mr. Cati had a great video pointing out the repeaters, pointing out that you can't really trust anybody else out there in the main or the alternative media, because you start liking some person and then they let you down. He was alluding to a couple of the YouTubers that are parroting, they're wearing suit coats and all that. They go for money. Now, Mr. Cati, I agree with your video wholeheartedly, except on a few points. And one, if a person wants to wear a suit jacket or a suit and tie, like Mr. Roy Potter does on his videos, and I'm not sure you're referring to him, but I'm bringing him up because anybody who does the YouTube thing and follows the alternative media side of the YouTube community there, they will have come across him because he's growing in popularity. And he wears a suit and tie. Actually, I thought he was ripping me off because I was wearing a suit and tie early on. Now I wear just the suit jacket and whatever shirt I feel comfortable in. But if the guy wants to wear a suit, at least he's trying to look semi-professional. And even though you're ripping on him because, well, you know, it's part of the real media, the mainstream media. That's what they do. They pretty up for the camera. I think it's just respectful that you don't come on looking like a douchebag. That's all. So I don't have a problem with Mr. Potter wearing a suit and tie. I think you got it from me. The guy over at the Prepared Mind there did that as well for a while. I think he was borrowing a few things from myself as well. Green screen and all. But the idea, Mr. Cat Eye, that that's a, you know, that diminishes what they're reporting is a falsehood. Okay? So just leave that alone, in my opinion. And wanting to make a few bucks, it's one thing to monetize your video just because you want to, and you do videos just to make money. But as I'm doing here, I need funding to continue my operation. I'm not at the point of retirement yet, Mr. Cat Eye, okay? You may be able to sit home all day and get money from wherever you're getting money from. It's cool. I don't have a problem with that. But to criticize people for trying to make a couple bucks to fund their operation, dude, you're barking up the wrong tree. If they're lying to you just to get the money, that's one thing. But I'm trying to produce and make this at least a semi-career, okay? And what's wrong with that? Would you prefer I go work in a paint store the rest of my life and have to, you know, deal with garbage? Or do you prefer somebody at least attempting to make something of themselves? And as long as they're attempting to bring the truth to light, or at least have an opinion that's not trying to manipulate people, what's your problem with that? I'm trying to make a few bucks. I have a few advertisers. I'm trying to get more. What's wrong with that? I have to fund this operation or I won't be able to do it. And I would much rather be doing this than any other thing out there. And as long as I don't compromise my values, as long as I don't compromise my reporting, and I still bring you quality entertainment and reports, then what's the issue? I understand, like some of the others out there, there are some out there, I know where I see what you're getting at. They report things a certain way so they get viewers. They compromise maybe their beliefs. I don't know. Maybe they don't have beliefs. We've got a lot of fakers out here in the alternative media. I understand that. And we got a lot of people who spread falsehoods and half-truths. But I don't see your point of view on this, that we can't try to make a few bucks doing this. I don't monetize my videos because I don't want Google to share in my talents as far as, you know, bringing in whatever viewers I get. And I don't even, that's another thing. He was complaining how his viewership is down. He's got way more subscribers than I do. But when I was getting 15, 20,000 views per video, Mr. Cat Eye, when I was getting that, and then all of a sudden I was shut down. Not for stealing anything. I didn't steal a damn thing. It was straight up blocking me for what I was reporting. And my viewership went in the can. You can't even find my videos on feeds half the time. If you go look for searching, you won't find it unless you specifically type in what you're looking for. My channel and my video. I've done experiments on specific concepts, even movie reviews, to see where I would, if the numbers would change. But they don't. See, I went after a few mainstream topics, not because I wanted to talk about them, but to see if I was being blocked on all facets. And the numbers are there. When I used to get 15, 20,000 views, 7,000 views, 900 views, I can't even get 4 and 5 and 10 now. It's not because I give bad reporting. Otherwise, if I did, I wouldn't be on 30 radio stations in 4 countries, Mr. Cati. But I love your videos. I think you're one of the true leaders in this alternative media that isn't putting out a bunch of garbage. I don't believe everything you put out, per se. I've questioned a few things, but you're at least trying to put out some kind of honest information. And you're bringing it in a unique way. But for somebody who's not retired and they're trying to make a few bucks, even if they are retired, if they're trying to make a few bucks doing a video, although I don't approve of the helping out Google, making Google money, I don't see a problem with it. I'm trying to make a few bucks so I can just buy better equipment and run a better, more efficient operation so I can produce better quality material. And if you have a problem with that, I'm sorry. I'm not going to stop that. And I don't think others should either, just because you don't like it. Maybe you have a good enough income source that you don't need that. Not all of us do, sir. Not all of us do. And some of us want to do this instead of working at a crappy 9-to-5 job. The technology is there. Let us have a chance at that without criticizing us about making a few dollars in it. You know, we don't get rich here. We don't get rich. All this stuff you see behind me, Mr. Cat-Eye, all the stuff here has been either accumulated for free or over 20, 30 years. All my equipment is ancient. But I like it that way a little bit, because I think it gives me a more unique sound on top of everything else, because everybody's got that digital thing going. Anyways, folks, we are at the end of another hour. Zoom boom in the can. Thank you all for listening. Don't forget to go to my website. That's www.jlebang.com. I'd like to thank all my affiliate stations. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again. And that's in the next hour, because we got 3 hours a week, and this is the first one. This is John Lebang. Stay tuned for the second hour.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance